There we
Hey,
go.
Echo McGov, I guess we're live, right? You see us
We are
live?
live. I
Yeah.
see it. Yes, I see
Yeah.
it there.
Yeah.
How you doing? It's almost live with Wayne, Ralphus, Tony Dio, and our special guest, Chris Cafferty. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
It's good to be
Yay.
here. I see that I have the most boring concert shirt on this evening, so it's like
Yeah, what the hell?
the ink is faded. It could be any band you want.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that Spinal Tap album.
Yeah. This is a Iron Maiden, Metallica, Judas Priest,
I was gonna
Megadeth.
say it's a
You just can't see it. It's faded off years and years. Faded away.
So,
Yeah. Uh,
how's it going, Chris? How's everything going? How's the
Everything,
tour?
everything's going good. You know, I got back home a few weeks ago, and I got to leave in a couple weeks. 2 weeks from today, I'm leaving again, and I've been doing a ton of stuff. Promoting my first vinyl release ever that's coming up, and I got to actually still film a piece of singing video for the song that the single that's coming out the day the record comes out, with me singing lead vocals, sharing with Jeff Scott Soto. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm trying to figure out how to frick to film myself because I'm doing some of this stuff. You know, it's like I had normal lyric videos and they're kind of boring, and I really like the work that Wayne Joyner does. And I was doing something for last time, and I was like, crap, I should probably give him something with vocals. So we were rehearsing Savatage in Florida, and I was in my hotel room. I'm like, I'm just gonna film myself and I'll send it to him. And I look back and I'm like, this sucks. So I just I had to get to, like, it was lobby call to go to the studio in like 10 minutes. And I'm going, shit, I gotta send this out today because he needs the video. So I just looked at my phone camera and played the music on my computer and spun in a circle, and I did it again in the opposite direction and emailed it out. I'm like, that's enough. And that was my video filming. It was like 6 minutes of the fastest video filming ever. I'm like, this is awful. I hate that kind. I always hated photo shoots and video shoots and stuff like that. I just like playing live music and working on creating music. The other stuff to me is like, I mean, I know some people really enjoy it, but for me, it's kind of sometimes a little bit more stressful than I like to do. So especially as you get older, it's just like, you don't want to. Last thing you want to do 40 years after you were getting pictures is get pictures. So
yeah.
it's
Well,
kind of
especially
like,
now too, because you feel like you have to be on social media and you have to be on everything and you have to keep putting up content. So it's a lot of work.
well, it's not even that. It's like, I had my first 20 years of touring go without cell phone cameras and
Right.
social media, and I just could
Yeah.
imagine would have been like if we would have had, the gutter ballet tour and stuff like that on video, and people had pictures and stuff, all the moments of people like Chris Oliva we lost, not to mention people like Randy Rhoads. It's like, look at how little live footage there is of Randy Rhoads. It's
Right.
like almost bizarre with how little footage of Randy there is, because a lot of the other bands there was more, and I don't know exactly why, but it just seems to me there's less of him than anything ever.
Mhm.
It's just
yeah.
weird. I mean, occasionally you'll see a little clip of him at a sound check, and there's a few live concerts, but it seems to me like maybe some of the stuff they were planning on filming live was all stuff that was going to be happening later in that diary tour, and it's just a shame. But like I said, to me, I would have loved to have been able to watch back to some of those concerts I did with Chris in the video form that you see a lot of people's cell phone cameras now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think too many
There's a
people wanted
few
to bring those big,
bootlegs floating around, you
Yeah,
know.
I'm
well,
sure. Yeah.
actually, I had a video from a soundboard of us opening for Testament, and I think it was maybe Fresno, California. It was a pretty decent VHS video, and I brought it with me to Greece when I was mix mastering my Faces record, and I left it with the guy who was the president of the record label because he asked me if he could make a copy of it when he went into the studio to see me, and I never got it back, and I never saw him again. So I was like, crap, maybe I got to try to freaking hunt him down when we get to Greece with Sabotage this time. We're playing the last show there of the tour is Rockwave, which is actually happening north of Athens now, and near Saloniki. So I had the option of like getting up at 6 in the morning and taking the flight from Saloniki to Athens to fly home, or hitchhiking with some of my friends that were going back to Athens and spending that Sunday night in Athens and flying the following day. And I just said, book me on Monday and I'll get there. So I'm going to have a night in Athens, and I'm going to try to get people to hunt this guy, Andreas from Black Lotus Records, down so I could try to get my video back. It would be a really triumphant ending to that adventure if I could get that back. It was a really good steady VHS, from a camera sitting out by the soundboards during that Savatage Testament Nuclear Assault tour that we did, and I'd like to get that back just because it was actually probably one of the most decent recordings I've seen, and I don't have it anymore. So
I actually saw that tour in Miami Beach, but Testament canceled, and it was just Savatage Nuclear Assault, and you guys opened and devoured, devoured. And I like Nuclear Assault, but my God, you guys were on fire, man.
yeah, we were a band with a lot of energy on that tour. It was it's one of these things where you just had a band that had a really good live chemistry, and that was us. I mean, we just got up there and did what we did, and we had fun, but we were, like you said, we were pretty brutal. I mean, I know when we did the very first show with Testament on that tour, and we finished closing that set with Mountain King. I don't know if it was that night or the next night, but Testament paid attention to how well we went over, because their biggest song at the time was Practice What You Preach, and they turned their set around and wound up putting that song first. I gotta, like, my dog is coming over to me to get attention, so he's not used to these late night.
I'm like, who's got a dog? And I'm like, all right, it must be.
It's he's not used to the late night freaking Zoom things. So, but they changed their set to open with Practice What You Preach the next night, because we just came off of playing Mountain King at the end of the set with the songs from Gutter. It was just a powerful thing, and it's not that they didn't rise that to another level, but they wanted to make sure they came out and had the weapon to do that with, and they opened their show with their biggest song at the time. And that, to me, I always thought that was a testament to how well we did in our opening set for them, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, I watched those guys every single night. They were brutal on that tour. It was great to watch them. I learned a lot watching Chuck Billy and them, and live metal. You watch bands that are really good at writing and playing really good live music. And luckily for me, with Savatage, I had the opportunity to open for Megadeth and then to open for Testament. And you just learn what songs and what things work better when you're on stage. And when I got the chance to fill in for Metal Church on that one tour, when Ronnie had his problem with his eye, I mean, that stuff was some of the most fun live music I'd ever played live. There's just certain bands and certain people that wrote great live music, and Vanderhoof was one of those people that was really good at writing great live stuff, because every single one of those Metal Church songs was a great live song.
Yeah.
You came into Savatage on the Mountain King tour, correct?
Correct. Yeah. It was funny because I started working with Paul when I was 17 years old, and I'd gotten the gig in the band Heaven. Was Mitch Perry had left the band at that time when they had Knocking on Heaven's Door on MTV, and I turned 18 a little bit after I got the gig, and then the next year Paul was working on the Mountain King record, and he told me that he wanted to make the band's live sound bigger, because that record's production was really huge. And he brought up the idea of bringing another guitar player on the road with them to the band, and I really liked the Savatage music, I got a chance to listen to it all, and I'd heard actually the first song I ever heard on the metal radio station in Jersey, a college station called WSOU, was Holocaust, and I always loved that riff, and I just played through all of their records, and I was like, I really like this band a lot, so I was very excited about it. And then I found out that the band had hired somebody else to do that job from Florida, and they told me a week before I was leaving that I wasn't going to have the gig, and I was like, this is my job. So
Hmm.
I offered to buy myself my own plane ticket and go down there, and if I succeeded, they could pay me back, and if I failed, I'd eat the ticket. And I went and played 2 songs, and they gave me the gig because there was just something that happened when me and Chris played together. It was kind of like a mirror image of him on rhythm guitar. So when the band played live with me and him, it was really powerful. And then he had a chance to do so many more things as a lead player and really have fun with his playing when I was in the band with him too. So it was something that really brought that band to a crazy powerful level live, just because the sound was so big.
Now you were on, like, you were mentioned in the booklet of Gutter Ballet that you were in there and on the album, but you actually didn't play on it. So what happened from between then and then? You didn't get to be back into the band till like Dead Winter Dead. So what happened in between there?
Well, here it's like, even though this isn't really supposed to, I didn't know, this was supposed to be a Savatage interview. I guess
Oh.
we're
Just
we're
talking,
talking
so
about me,
yeah.
but long story short, I had a brother that I was in a band with when I was a little kid, and like John's brother, I had some unfinished business with him. John had a chance to do his records with his brother. I didn't. So, I had left Savatage at the end of the Gutter tour, and not playing on the Gutter Ballet record was 100% my decision, which I didn't realize now how stupid that was, because they asked me if I wanted to play and the record was done. So I was like, well, it's already finished. And I had just did the Turn of the Screw record, basic tracks with Dirty Looks, and I'd written songs and played all the rhythm, and I was just like, well, I just got out of the studio. This record's, they were mixing. So I didn't realize just how much people were going to be like, well, you didn't play anything. But it's like, I easily could have, they offered me to play, and I said the record was already done. So I didn't ask for them to open up tracks. I was just happy to be asked to be a member of the band at that point in time. And, had I known how people would categorize things because of something like that, I would have said, yeah, okay, open up tracks and let me play some freaking power chords. But, it is what it is. I was in the band at that time. And to me, I had a chance with the Ghost in the Ruins record to play all those songs in the studio. And on that album, Paul wanted to create the live sound, and we couldn't really figure out exactly how to mix Ghost in the Ruins. So I doubled all of my rhythms so that when Chris went to a lead, you didn't have, because he was going up in the center, and that's where he, was going to be mixed. We were kind of split in the main parts of the songs, and then when you go to the leads, you push them in the middle, and we want the mix of the record to be like an old Van Halen album. So I got a chance to play all of those songs, everyone on Ghost in the Ruins, and be on a record in the studio with Chris Oliva playing those songs. So to me, it was kind of like, it wasn't just the Gutter songs. It was Mountain King. It was Legions. It was, Sirens. It was all those Savatage songs. I had a chance to be on what may have been, it's obviously his last, record that was released. But, to me, it was a chance to do a studio record with him of all of them. And that to me was something I always felt really blessed with. So and I basically, within a year, I was working with John again. I had gotten a call from Paul and the management to go back on the road during the Streets tour. And they really did not speak to the band about that idea. And when I thought I was going to be leaving to go, Steve Wackles called me up and he said, I heard you're going to be coming down to Baltimore. He said, well, don't, expect anything. He said, in the beginning, the idea of me to play was something that was kind of introduced to the band, and me going back, I'd left. I I felt like I really let Chris down because he created that position in Savatage for me. You know, if you look at
Mm.
that band, I was the original Chris Caffery. There was no other guitar player in that band. So I always felt really not, I mean, I just felt like I let him down, you know, and I wanted to get back there and get a chance to support him. And when he passed away, I was so bummed out that I lost those years of his life. And it was I was 21, you know, I made a
Mm.
decision to work with my brother. The business was different. You didn't stay in two bands at that point in time. You
Right, right.
were in one or the other. And you know, at that point, I didn't go back on the road with them. But as soon as John was out, me and him, he went and stayed at a friend's house in Florida, and I flew down there and hung out with them. And, you know, within a few months, we'd started writing Butcher music. So it was really only a matter of about a year and a half that I was away. And then, you know, once I got back with John with Butcher, I'd never left. And there was time even with Edge of Thorns, Chris had asked me if I would go back into the band then, but I didn't want to leave John because me and him were working on Butcher, and then you know, unfortunately, Chris had passed, and everything got topsy turvied around, and me and John both wound up back in Sabotage for the Dead Winter Dead record and tour, and you know that was you know, late '94 that I was back into Savatage, and that record was finished in '95. But you know, if you look at that chronologically, it wasn't very long at all that I was away from things, and I haven't left since. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you made it back into the band. And we just talked about Dr. Butcher, and Tony just showed up his record too. Was this only meant to be just like a one-off type thing, or?
actually, no, we were planning on keeping Butcher going. I mean, it really, like I said,
Yeah, that
everything
too.
went topsy turvy when John's brother had passed away. You know, John
Yeah.
was really close to his brother, and even when we weren't in Sabotage, we still saw Chris every day. You know, it was when we were in Florida, and John just really went back. He needed an escape, and we would have done another record at that time if we didn't go back into Sabotage then. I mean, we had the idea. I mean, that band probably would have been very successful because it was kind of like a mixture of everything heavy that was going on, but it had a tongue in cheek. And then
Mm.
John had the idea of being really, you know, kind of Alice Cooper stage like with that. So even when we did some of the little local shows we did, he was, you know, we had the Butcher come out on stage and there was a big giant table and he pulled the freaking silver platter thing off there, and there was John's head on the table, and he started singing the altar, and he crashed the table away, and we started the show, and we had an electric chair and all these other things. So I think that if it was given its chance, it probably, you know, would have went on for a while, but we all went
Mm.
back into Sabotage and then, you know, TSO formed. So that was
Yeah.
kind of with that. But Butcher was a lot of fun for me to make, and I really I worked very hard in the years in this couple year period when I got out of Savatage because I at that point in time, you know, I realized that, you know, I wanted to get myself back into a pro band when me and my brother split up. So I buried myself in my basement like probably 13, 14 hours a day practicing, and
Wow.
you know, when I went to do the Butcher thing, my guitar playing had gotten to a different level. And even when we did a Butcher show live, Chris had came up to me and he was like, "Man, you got a lot better." And I was like, "Thanks." And it's like I learned a lot from him, and it just inspired me to make sure that I brought myself to another level. And that time when he had passed, I really dug myself into playing because like I said, I was feeling a lot of I don't know if it was guilt. I just felt really like I said, like I let him down. So when I got back into the band, I wanted to try to play his music as good as I possibly could to show him how much I appreciated about the situation he'd given me.
Mm. Very cool.
Right.
So you got an album coming out?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a release date already?
Yeah, it's actually June 13th is the release date on Metalville, and basically what it is, I had been releasing some singles in the past few years, and I hadn't recorded a full record. And I had this song that I wrote last year that was called "Do You See What I See Now?" And it was kind of a song that has a subject matter that I thought would fit well with my old release of my one solo record, Goddamn War. So I approached Metalville about maybe doing a 20-year anniversary of Goddamn War, which I released under the title of Warped, because to respect the TSO religious part of their audience, I didn't want to title that as Goddamn War and be in like the signing lines after the show and have somebody standing next to, someone who was either in church that day or going to church the next day. And I believe even somebody's telling me the other day that Striper had that kind of reaction from people that saw their record that had what was it, Goddamn Evil or something they had. Yeah. And so I just avoided that. And then I was like, well, now since we're really not doing the signing lines anymore, since after COVID that it kind of laid away, like maybe it was a good time to do that 20th year of that. But it was funny because Metalville was like, well, that would be a double LP, and right now we'd rather just do a single or a single record. And I was like, all right, well, let me think about that. Because they go, if you had any unreleased or any new songs, and I'm like, God, this is going to turn into me wanting to do a whole new record. So I just thought about it. I was like, well, I have unreleased songs, but I didn't like how it moshed into a full album. But I also had songs like, Pisses Me Off that I think could still have legs one day if it got into the right ears, and even my song Music Man. So I started moshing together a couple of those things to maybe throw on this record that was going to have the unreleased songs, and then that eventually went to too many songs for one record, and I managed to get the double LP anyway. So what this does is it basically does a musical journey through the 20 years that I spent recording my solo music while waiting for Savatage to happen again, which is why the solo music started. I went into the studio and I got a deal in 2000, late 2003 on basically the song Abandon was a big part of that. And Abandon was a song I had written musically to be on the Savatage record that was going to follow up Poets, but it never happened. And I was in the band house in the city kind of just waiting. And in that period of time, I just really, I missed the band, and it was only a year away. So imagine how I felt, when I finally got a chance to get back with them now. It was like that was such a big part of my life and so important to me. So that, fueled me doing my solo records. I never had the desire to join another band. I just wanted to be Chris Caffery and do Trans-Siberian Orchestra and be waiting for Savatage. And Savatage was always supposed to be doing a record, but it was always seemed to be something that got in the way. And then we were doing Vakken and we were supposed to start, and then unfortunately Paul passed. And then when Paul passed, it took a couple years to get back, for us to get our heads together, even to think about possibly doing something like that. We just wanted to maintain his legacy and keep TSO going. So you turn around and then boom, it's COVID. And then you blink your eyes and it's years after that. And I think it was actually during that COVID time, John did an interview with I think it was Rock Hard magazine in Greece, and he mentioned, wanting to do a Savatage record. And the next day I got like 80 million emails and DMs and all these things about, oh, it's so great, Savatage is doing another record. I was like, we are? So, and I think in the midst of John blurting out wanting to do that and interview, a bunch of the agencies and promoters and things started contacting me and management and everybody about Savatage. And last year, management came up to us and said, hey, you guys, we want a conference call with Savatage. And I didn't know what the call was going to be. And they said, we got a bunch of offers. You guys want to do some shows? And me, I basically started crying, man, because that's what I'd wanted. That was, I use the term my band. It's not my band as in Savatage was my band, but when you were a part of a band and that was your band, that was what, when you identified yourself with something musically, for me, it was Savatage. That was right. Where my heart and soul laid. I love being a part of TSO. I mean, it's one of the greatest bands that's ever toured, and the production and the music and everything. Paul created something so special with that band. but I really miss Savatage. There was a part of me that was kind of not tied together with that gone, so I just was really happy about it, and I thought it was a good time for me to for now close the door on what I did with my solo stuff. And between 2004 and 2024, that's when those songs were recorded, and that was the 20 years of me and that music, and what I thought was a pretty good representation of the different styles of music I did. So I'm happy that that's coming out soon for people to get a hold of.
Yeah, it's cool. I was listening to it, and your vocals, your singing, it's actually really good. I really enjoy it. It reminds me of Sabotage too. A little bit of John Oliva in your voice.
I learned a lot from John. I learned how he would go through the different characters with his voice. It was funny because when he
Yeah.
first listened to me singing, he was like, "You figured it out." It's like, well, I learned from you the same way I did your brother. I wanted to sing when I was younger, but my voice wasn't naturally great,
Right.
and I kind of have a high talking voice, so my singing voice was a little small at first, and I didn't really know how to get the air into my lungs to make that work. So, in the 80s when you had a band, you had Dickinson and Halford and Coverdale and Jeff Tate and Ronnie Dio and Steve Perry and Lou Grab. There was every singer was freaking awesome. So when you went to try to put a band together, you were looking for singers that were on that level. And unfortunately, if you weren't, unless you were doing something like, Metallica or something that wasn't requiring that range, people
Mhm.
were always looking for that range.
Right.
And that's, where I kind of would sit in the room when nobody was looking and I would sing Hot Blooded and songs like that, Dio songs and Blue Murder songs. And I enjoyed singing, but, when I had a chance to experiment with writing my solo record and I got Pro Tools and I was able to re-record and do takes, and I was like, well, my voice isn't that bad. And then I took lessons, and it actually isn't that bad. But I mean, you get judged differently when you're a guitar player that turns singer. I always
Mhm.
give the example of Richie Kotzen. He's one of the greatest singers on the planet, and he's never really known as a singer because he started off on guitar. But Richie can sing anything. He's freaking brilliant. I love his voice, and for me, it's just fun because I consider it to be, an instrument like my guitar, and I use it a lot of different ways and do different timbres and harmonies and things like that. So for me, it's just like adding more crayon colors to the box. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun for me to sing.
Yeah, it's good. Did you, if you weren't going to sing, did you have like somebody that you were going to have in mind to do vocals, or you just knew you were going to do vocals for your solo stuff?
Um, at that point in time, I didn't want to deal with anybody else. I just was in a position where I didn't I wanted to escape into what I was doing. So I wasn't even thinking about a band. I was just thinking about writing things. And then when somebody put me in touch with Black Lotus and they gave me the opportunity to do a deal, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll try this on my own. Because I didn't really know exactly who I thought was going to be able to explain me in a
Right.
vocal form.
Yeah.
I had these songs written, but I'm like, who do I think is going to sing what I'm feeling right now? Who's going to sing Pisses Me Off and
Right.
sing Faces and sing songs like Never and Music Man, and it was a lot. So I just went at it myself and recorded a bunch of songs and created something I think that was a lot of fun for people to listen to. I mean, it was fun for me to do. I was a little stupid when I wrote the music because I wrote the music, then put the lyrics and melodies on top, and then I went to play it live, and I was like, "You dummy!" It's like when you're playing songs and you listen to a lot of these metal songs that bands are doing, the verses kind of open up, and it's easy for the singer,
Sing it right.
especially
Yep.
if they're singing and playing over, to sing and play. Me, unless I was gonna be Geddy Lee, and I'm definitely not Geddy Lee. I like wrote things that were off time with the guitar riff, and I'm like, this sucks. So it was a lot harder than I thought with some. So when I started to write things in the future, I'm like, okay, when I get into the verse, I'm just gonna hit a chord and do some things I'm gonna be to sing over, because that really wasn't the smartest way to go at it. But you know, I lived through it, and it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm really happy that Savatage is playing again, and you know, in the future I may do some more solo stuff. But for now, I'm just putting my attention into Savatage, and I'm happy to get this collection of stuff out for people to hear. I'm happy to get vinyl out, and I'm happy the way it is, because it's not you know, I had like 8 solo records. I would have to sell them all to people, and this way people could just buy the one, and even especially if they've already had the music on CD or whatever. This one at least has, you know, like a full records of the 4 sides basically of new material, as well as some of the old stuff. And then there's things that were never on my records that were just on the EPs, and it kind of goes through, like I said, a little musical journey of what I did the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's really
Speaking of
really cool
songs that you mentioned, hard to play songs just then when you write stuff. I was really glad to see that TSO added Chance into the set, because Chance is an amazing song. It's kind of like Savatage's Bohemian Rhapsody in a way.
Oh,
and I saw you guys perform it live as Savatage back in the late 90s, I guess, or maybe early 2000s, and everybody in the group had a part to sing, and I was like, wow, that's just jaw-dropping that you were able to pull it off live. And of course, with TSO, you got more people. So
exactly, and that was Paul. I mean, Paul had his visions of putting, you know, rock theater out, putting Broadway into a rock band, and all those Broadway musicals will have that song that has the counterpoint of all the big songs through the show meeting together, and Paul just added, you know, lines that you hadn't heard before together in that 5-point counterpoint in the song, and you know, Zach and him assembled the harmonies over each line that went through, and it became kind of like a signature part of the more orchestrated Savatage songs. And it's a lot of fun to do. I mean, now on these Savatage shows we're doing now, we have 2 keyboard players that are filling in for John while he's getting, you know, his health back strong enough to go live again, and they're both singing. So we have, you know, 6 of us singing up there right now, which is pretty cool. I think it's 6. Is it 6? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6 of us singing. It's a lot of fun to assemble it that way, because, you know, obviously you can't do the 5 parts with harmonies, would be 10, but we were at least able to put them through, and with, you know, at least keep harmonies going through most of them as they change over, and that was the advantage of doing, you know, Wacken and having, you know, both stages full of bands and all the TSO voices to do the Savatage stuff. But it was also the advantage of doing Savatage music live with TSOs. We were able to fill all those parts at once, and it was always cool to hear, you know, every single part that's on the record live. And that's something we try to do as good as we possibly can live with Savatage now. It's always fun to piece those parts together. I think these guys gave me something for 8:30. I'm not trying to, let me just check this really fast to see if this was 8:30 or 9 that they gave me something to do, because if they gave me 8:30, this is not, what did they give me for tonight? Yeah, they have an 8:30 that I'm supposed to be doing.
Tell me the show's better. Tell me how to work.
All right.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys were there and we're going to be back later on. I mean, I could return to you, but I would need to get a Zoom sent to me. I have to at least run to explain to this person that I'm 6 minutes late for when I'm 6 minutes late, and I could run past 9 there because I don't have anything after 9. But
Chris,
I never understand why that gets put together, because that is not a.
I don't know. Ralph's got a question for you.
Especially as someone like me who never shuts up.
Yeah, I see that. Hold on a minute.
right before you go, just one question. It's my friend from Canada.
2 questions. You got one, I got one more.
Jason Rowling from Canada wanted me to ask you about Eric Adams of Manowar, that you hung out with him like in the early 90s or something, went hunting, something like that?
Well, yeah, we have a friend, Chester Moore, who, the metal fan, lives in Texas, and he had mentioned to me that he was friends with Eric, and I used to hunt a lot more back then, and he had asked me if I wanted to meet up with Eric and go to Texas and go on a week-long hunting adventure. So I flew down there. I had my compound bow in a case and got on an airplane and got off the plane and had a week of boar and I don't even we were wild boar and duck and I don't know if we were actually snake hunting, but they were hunting us. I mean, but I went down there and it was a ton of fun, man. I hit it off really well with him. He was he's a great guy. We've stayed, really good friends since then. I mean, I played with Manowar, with Savatage and some stuff before, but I never had a chance really to hang out with him. So that was a lot of fun, and that trip was definitely something that was one of my best memories of something like that, because I never really went on hunting things that were more than just me meeting with my friends, my local friends, and going to their spots here and there. This was like an actual trip, and it was really fun. I mean, we got to do some, local TV stuff, and then there was all these clothing companies and things I left with. It was just like it was fun. I felt like I was on an adventure show. So
Nice. All right, Wayne,
All
quick.
right, one last thing. This album right here, I only bought it because I saw your name was on the front cover. You were in this band. What do you remember about this band? Will you just tell me anything about this album or working on it?
I have that on
well, the
CD.
funny thing is, Sabotage was on the road. Um, I think it was during the Wake of Magellan tour, and we had some time off. And my friend John West, who was somebody who I actually hunted with, you guys know Johnny sang with Royal Hunt and Our Tension, and he was
Right,
in
yes.
Badlands and Lynch Mob. Great, great, great singer. He was actually the one that was in Witch Doctor when I had left Savatage. He said, "Hey, you want to go over to Europe and do some cover songs with Mike Tirana?" Was talking to somebody who was gonna wanted to put together a cover band of American metal musicians, and we did, and we had actually one Dutch bass player, Baron, who's Cabois, who's in Michael Schenker group right now, played bass, and the guy who was promoting the shows was Lars Ratz, the bass player from
Okay.
Metalium. Now, when Savatage went back to Europe later in the fall, he said, "Hey, if you have a day off here, do you want to come in the studio and listen to this singer I found in this band?" So I went in and I listened. He's like, "Oh, you want to throw some guitar solos down?" So that one song, Fight, and I think it was Break the Spell, I did solos on. And then I didn't realize that, a month later, he goes, "Hey, I got a deal for this band. Would you like to fly to Germany and co-produce the record?" I'm like, "Okay." He said, "Well, do you have that demo you gave me of the songs you wrote with John West? I would like to use some of the music for the Metalium record." So he used my music for Revelation and Pilgrimage and something else, and I went there and he left me in the studio with an SSL board, and I was putting reels on every day, and I never engineered that before, but I engineered all the guitars, played mostly all of the rhythms and my leads, and Matthias did his leads, but I did most of the rhythm because Matthias was not that schooled in doing studio work at the time, and we had a really fast schedule we had to meet to get this done before their mixing was supposed to happen. So I took over doing a lot of the guitars, and all of a sudden I'm like, "All right, well, I'm done. I'm gonna get going." He's like, "Well, we have a photo shoot to do tomorrow." I'm like, "We?" And Lars is like, "Well, if you're not in this photo, my house of cards will fall." I didn't realize that he had gotten the deal by telling the record company Massacre that I was in the band,
Oh my God!
which
Wow.
I didn't know until we were done mixing and I was ready to go home. And so I did one photo for them with sunglasses on, away from the band. I said, I'm, look like the heavily disassociated artist that's really not in the band. And I did some live shows, but it was a really cool record. I was,
Yeah, I
a
like
lot
it.
of
I
people
like
that
it.
like the European power metal consider it to be one of the top European power metals. It was a founding one too of that type of music. But Toronto left the band, and there was a lot of drama. And I just wandered away from it, and they had their career over there. And I had actually talked to Lars about going back to play with them again for a reunion of sorts. And his little plane he had crashed, and he passed away a couple years ago. So that never happened. I wouldn't work with that
Remember
again.
hearing about that.
But yeah, that was an interesting situation. But it actually falls into things like the Butcher record, like really cool parts of heavy metal history that I was proud to be a part of, because it is a really cool record. And Tirana's drumming on that is
Oh, he's
so
amazing.
good. And it's funny because people use sampled drum sounds. Every single drum on that record is live. And those are the sounds people pay to get. It's
Yeah.
just because of how hard he hit those drums. I mean, I recorded that when I got there, the drums were done. Then that's when I did the guitars and stuff, except for with the Smoke on the Water cover that was on it. And I watched him, or I sat in a room with him and recorded that song. So that was my arrangement actually. And I never saw anybody hit the freaking drums that hard in my life. And I worked with Dr. Killdrums. Dr. Killdrums hit really hard, but Tirana, he was a beast, man. He was funny. He would get mad at himself when he messed up. If he messed up taking a track, he would stand up and start yelling at himself. Mike, I can't believe you. I was just like, he's literally mad at himself right now. So, it was awesome to watch the emotion he had in his playing. But yeah, it's all part of the many
All part of
different
your history. Yeah. It's
many
awesome.
different faces that I'd been a part of over the last 20 years. But now that I'm 15 minutes late for this next interview,
Go to your other interview, and if
yeah,
we'll
I'm
still
gonna
be here
jump
for a
out.
while, you can always try to come back. But if we're not,
Well, I
here,
don't know if I could get back on the same link. I will.
Yeah,
All right.
if we're still
All right,
here.
so let me escape and see if I get back.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
guys for having me, and
All right,
if
you
I'm
too.
able to get back, I will.
If we're still here, yes, okay.
All right,
All
thanks.
right. Good,
Yeah.
good night.
You know, if Chris comes back, I'm not going to add him.
All right.
No, frick.
That was
No,
very
No,
cool.
we-
He's very cool.
I wanted to say we got to talk about the 40th anniversary of this album.
That too. We had so much stuff to talk about it. That
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
we can still talk about it.
if Chris does come back, let's all leave the camera at him, and nobody here. But yeah, I saw that, Tony, the other day. You put it up, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna put on my Savatage Power of the Night. I put it on and I turned it off. I was like, holy shit, dude. I need to get this shit on CD. This shit crackling so much.
you gotta get the new record. You gotta get the new releases.
The they've done a reissue. Have you
reissues.
seen those? I only brought this one in here, but I've got the new one, and it's a gatefold. Wayne may have it, and it opens up, and the fist comes out.
No way. I want that.
Yeah.
See, I have that one, but I didn't open it. I left it sealed. I got two different versions because there's two of them. There's one without it.
Oh, there you go. Now I don't have to buy it. Send me that sealed one.
Okay.
That's right.
Give me your address. Tell me your address here, and I'll send it out.
543
Okay.
Lincoln Avenue, right next to the White House.
Yeah, it's the house with the new green lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
The new
black
fake
vinyl.
green lawn.
And black vinyl. Look at that. Just the ones you like.
Yep.
Yeah,
The black ones.
Because I ain't racist.
No, you're not.
I love the black.
but yeah, it's
You
cool,
want me to
man.
open it? Do you want me to open it?
No, I want it sealed.
I'm not sending this to you.
He wants to see the fisting.
Yeah, I want to get fisted on this show. You want to
Raise the fist of the metal. Raise the fist of the metal child.
I don't think it matters. It's not going to be worth anything. Can it? Can it be worth anything?
Well, it's probably going to warp if you don't open it because it's
Probably.
sealed records tend to warp.
Well, aren't these thick vinyls anyway? Aren't these 180 gram? They shouldn't warp.
They still warp.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not 180. That's thick.
Man, what a weakling this Wayne is. Look how hard
If
it got.
a friend,
I should have tried to open it with my good hand.
Holy crap. Look at
It's stuck. I'm trying to keep the sticker. I want the goddamn
yeah,
sticker.
he wants the hype sticker.
Oh,
You know
fuck,
what
I
I-
want
There
the
you go.
record.
Here you go. You
I want
ready?
the
Are you
record.
ready, Ralph? Here you
I'm
go.
gonna get fisted. Hold on. Oh,
That's nice. I like that. I gotta get that.
he made
Yeah.
me open it just for that. That's cool.
You know what?
Yeah, man.
I've been taking off plastic all my albums, and every album that has a hype sticker, I take it off before I take it off the plastic. Because if you try taking that shit after you take off the plastic, it's a pain in the ass. Do it while the plastic's on. You see, you learn something every day here on Almost Human Life.
That's right. And this is a clear vinyl.
Oh no, I don't.
That's
Can't
kind of
see it.
cool. That's cool. You can see me through. I'm going to do the whole show looking through the vinyl.
That's white. I don't like white.
It's clear. It's invisible.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't like invisible shit, man.
Yeah, man. But what a great record that is, man. I mean, the opening track, "Power Tonight," is just. I mean, this just kicks ass. I mean, "Unusual" is good. "Warriors," yeah, "Warriors" is such an anthem. Metal.
What a chorus! Killer chorus on Warriors.
And then you go to "Necrophilia," which I'm surprised Cannibal Corpse hasn't covered that yet.
You don't have none of these reissues, Ralph?
You know,
I have
6
all-
Feet Under did 6 Feet Under did "Holocaust" by Savatage.
Washed Out is a great song on that.
"Washed Out's killer."
Skull
"Hard
said-
for Love" is kind of like the that was the hair
There's not a
metal
bad
track.
song
That
on
was
here.
where they're trying to go for a hit song, I think. And "Fountain of Youth," "Skull Session," "Stuck
Yeah.
on You."
Unusual, Warriors.
Look,
Necrophilia?
I'm going to show you the example. I'm
Yeah.
taking off this plastic, but I'm going to take off the hype sticker first.
Everybody
Watch
watch
him
them
tear.
take off this sticker.
Take off the hype sticker before you take off the plastic. See how easy it comes off?
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I've had them
You know-
take I've taken the plastic off, and then if you have to heat it up with a hair dryer to get the
Yeah.
And look,
sticker off,
But
you
wait,
just
what do you
don't
do with
heat it
that
up
sticker
while
now?
it's still sealed.
Check this out. Right here.
What are you going to do with that sticker now? Are you going to put that sticker on?
Look at that. Look at that.
I was
Look-
trying to preserve the goddamn sticker. Are you going to put that sticker on the album cover now? What are you going to do
Yeah,
with that
stick it
sticker?
on the album cover.
No, you're going to ruin the album cover.
No, I
No.
stick them on the album covers.
I don't. I'll put it on. All right, it came with this.
Now, that being said, Wayne, I did bring so I took the sticker off the plastic and I stuck
Oh, and you
it
put it
on. I stuck it over on the plastic of the
Okay.
oversleeve.
All
Yeah,
right, all right.
there you go.
But see, that's why
Same
I was
thing
taking
with
the plastic off like very gently because I like to
Handful
keep
of
the
Rain
sticker. And I'm
did
going
the
to cut the
same
sticker
thing.
out. And this way the sticker's still on the
Look,
plastic.
look.
I'm all about a hype sticker.
Right there. See this black place right there? Watch this.
Yeah, is that your favorite spot of the whole thing? What?
Yeah, man. Look at that. Look at that. That ain't AI. I just put that on there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there goes the hype sticker. But yeah, I got this one, and I want to thank Mr. D. Is it black vinyl? Hell yeah. Mr. D bought me this. I've always wanted this on vinyl because I've always had it on CD. And yeah, he got me this. And I tell you, this right here is all killer, no filler.
Yep.
Every song
Yeah.
on it is
Good album.
white.
One of my all-time favorite albums ever.
Yeah.
I took the original hype sticker off of this and stuck it on the record. It says "contains strange wings,"
Inside,
which is, I guess,
like when you open it up, his wings come flying out.
yeah, strange. And they're strange.
Just kind of like the fist, like wings.
And who sings backing vocals on "Strange Wings"?
Ray Gillen.
Ray Gillen.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, good stuff.
Hey, Chris is back.
Is it really? Well, that was a quick interview.
Yeah.
You know what it is? He knew this show was better than the other show. That's what.
Exactly.
There he is.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, he's back.
Oh, get this one.
You knew this show was better. All right.
And I go, now this is going to be interesting for tomorrow, because I go to the meeting that said 8:30 and it said this meeting's scheduled for tomorrow. So I'm like, all right. And I looked at the schedule for tomorrow and there's another one for 8:30 tomorrow. So I have two at the same time tomorrow, apparently, on my Zoom schedule. So I came right back to you guys.
Oh, that works.
And I'm here now and I've, that's it.
I thought, I
I
thought
apologize for running away. And it was like kind of why I was trying to rush through answering 8 questions together by myself without you guys saying anything, because I'm like, shit, I gotta get to the next one. Now there wasn't the next one.
That was rushing.
I thought you were-
So I'm back. I'm back. Where were we?
I thought you were doing that podcast and realized they sucked and wanted to come back to us.
I thought
Oh
so.
no, I was like, this is because I try to tell people when they do these things, do not put half-hour interviews one after another, because
Yeah.
you never get them done in time, and if somebody's late, it starts late, and then it's you got
And
to.
you never know what happens too. You're talking and you want to just keep going. So
Well, it's not even that. It's just it's hard to finish, especially obviously somebody would have known there was more than just one of you guys. So it's
Yeah.
like, how are you gonna get with somebody who doesn't shut up like me, and then four people speaking? We're gonna get something done in a half hour, and it's like, yeah. But
the people in the chat want to see your dog. Can we see your dog?
that's good. And it's like, it's not like I've had a
No.
2-year career. It's like there's still about 8 decades we haven't
Hold on.
spoken about. So
The people in the chat want to see your dog. Can we see your dog?
yeah. There you go.
Is it? Am I?
Can you hear him? He
Can
said
you
the
hear
people
me?
in the chat.
Can you hear
people
me?
in the chat.
I might have to give something to my dog to hold him over.
Holy crap!
My dog is like, he's like, this isn't working for me right now. You're supposed to be done with this by now. So I just handed him a dog ice
The
cream.
people in the chat want to see your dog. Can we see your dog?
Hey, Chris,
I mean,
people in the chat.
I think I'm.
the dog.
My dog
Can you hear-
left the room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he went into the other room. He likes to. He's got a different space. He's a German Shepherd. He's very meticulous. So it's like everything has to be done in a certain time in a certain place. That's why he's bothering me now, because this is time I'm usually like throwing the ball down the hallway and he's bringing it back. So I'm like, I'm interfering with his schedule. Oh,
Well, excuse us.
yeah. German Shepherd.
So we were just talking about this album, 40th anniversary this week.
Which you're not
do you
on.
Remember? Yeah,
That
yeah.
record's awesome. It was fun because when we were doing the rehearsal privately before we got together for the South American dates, I went through every Savatage record on my own just for fun, and I started, right at the beginning, and that freaking Power Tonight record is great, and that you really heard at that point, like Chris, after Sirens and Dungeons, his playing really started to catapult, and he got into that record, and I think also the fact that he was working with Max Norman, that connection to Randy Rhoads and being somebody that was working with that same producer, you just hear it in Chris's head that he really wanted to do something special when he was playing in that record. I love the riffs and songs on that album. There's so many that I had done live with them too at different times, back in the old days, but there's some great tunes, stuff like Unusual and Warriors and things like that. Warriors was one of the ones when I used to, before John started playing keyboards live, I used to play some keys with Savatage, and Warriors was one of the ones that had the intro and stuff like that. But there's some great freaking songs on that record. And we actually brought back Power of the Night into the live show now. We hadn't been doing that for a while in the past tours, but that's back in the set now, and everybody in South America was really happy about that. So I'm happy to have that one back in the show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was the song you guys opened with when you opened for Dio. Power of the Night.
I don't remember what it was we opened for. Oh
Yeah,
wow!
and what song?
So we opened with Power, but when did we do Mountain King at the end of the?
But that I don't remember. I just remember you guys opened with Power of the Night.
Because that Power of the Night and Hall of the Mountain King, the song, were the only two that had to drop C, because we were a whole step down and that was dropped. So I couldn't remember if those two were ever separated. So I don't know if we would have went from Power of the Night into Mountain King at the beginning. I can't remember. Anybody out there has a recording of Savatage
Wayne,
Live,
check setlist.com.
87, 88. Can I get the set list? I don't remember. I know we didn't have that long of a show. I can't remember exactly when we did that or Mountain King in that set.
I saw you guys on that tour, and man, it seems like as soon as you guys started playing, it was over.
Yeah, it was
seemed
only
like
a 30-minute set. I remember that. We had it was like 30, 35-minute set on that. And we were just happy to have that tour. I mean, Paul was friends with Wendy Dio, and when he was recording that record, he says, I think I can get the band on a Dio tour. That's when he got a hold of me and says, I'd like, to have you come out and help fill the band's sound up more like the record live. And for me, I just turned 19, so you got to imagine what it was like for me to be a kid that was out there freaking watching Dio every night from the side of the stage, and just hanging out with that whole scene, and being on my first tour bus. And my first major tour was back then. My dog is not having this, right? Yeah, but yeah, no, that set was not that long. And I never been. Now he's bringing me another toy.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a German Shepherd.
German Shepherd.
Come here. Bring that over here.
Can you put her on the screen here so people can see the dog?
He's down this way.
Here you go, people.
Yeah.
There he is.
Well, it's proof that this dog is actually a dog. I don't believe that your dog's a dog. No, he's a dog. He's not an AI. He's just, but he's limping a little bit. He's a little old, and I think he hates thunderstorms. And my studio's in my basement here, and I spent a lot of time down there with him. And I left the house the other day when there were storms going on, and I came back home, and he was down there, and he may have he gets really scared when the thunder happens. So I don't know if he ran down the stairs weird, but one of his legs is bothering him when he's walking right now, and he's not old, but he's over 8, and his legs feel a little bit as he's getting older. So
yeah, it might be
that's that. But I am going to need to leave him soon. I just wanted to jump back with you guys in case there was anything we missed.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, just one more thing. You mentioned no pro shot footage of the Gutter Ballet. Was there any pro shot footage of when Chris was alive that you know of that where you played with Savatage?
There may be a decent video of Savatage at the Dynamo Festival. And it's funny because that is another situation where they just asked me to join the band, and they were flying over to Dynamo like the next day or week, before the Gutter was done. And I had the opportunity to try to get the set list over to go and play with them, but I didn't have it together enough to where I was comfortable with going over there and just jumping on stage. But I think there was that Dynamo Festival, there might have been a multi-camera filming of that, and I'm trying to talk to some people and hunt down some tapes that might be around, because from what I understand, there might be a multi-camera video of that Dynamo show. But other than that, we recorded shows with Chris, but we never shot real video live on the Gutter tour that I know of. And I don't know if he'd actually done stuff with the other tours that was like full production. I think maybe Japan Live, that would Paul had taken, he'd gotten the chance to do the live filming of the entire show. Then was the first time that Savatage had done anything filmed, and I don't really think there was with Chris. There's occasional, MTV Germany or somewhere where there'd be 2 or 3 songs, but there's some stuff that shows up from the Gutter tour over in Germany when we were playing with King Diamond and some other things, but as far as I know, I don't think there's any full shows that were, recorded with pro shot, and that is kind of a shame. We had footage of one Savatage concert in Cologne on the Wake of Magellan tour that we have footage of, that one day may make its way out, but that's obviously not Chris. But as far as I know, the Chris time, I can't think of a concert that I've seen footage of. Uh-oh, he's gonna hear that. Uh-oh. Here we go now. We got dog choir going.
Hey, what's Wilbur doing?
My dog choir.
I was wondering if it might be Wilbur.
No, Wilbur's just hanging out at the table, man. He doesn't. He's
There
not.
he is.
He's not that unruly. He's sitting here counting money right now. No, he's
Yeah.
he's just doing Wilbur's world. You know, he's trying to figure out what the next adventure is. What? I know.
Hey, Chris, I saw a news story the other day about More Sound Studios down in Florida getting the plaque about for where they being historical recording studio. Of course, it's the birthplace of death metal, is what they say. But they said that they had moved and that the old studio that everybody recorded in back in the 80s and 90s was now owned by TSO.
Yes, that's where we actually were rehearsing for the Savatage tour. So
Okay,
that
I thought that was
facility
pretty
where
interesting.
that, because I was kind of, I wasn't down there obviously for this filming of or for this thing that went out, so I wasn't sure if they put the sign up in front of the new More Sound or the old one, because I saw somebody had a comment that said, "Oh, it's a shame that they tear it down." And I'm like, where's the sign going if they asked if they tore it down? Because I was like, well, we were just in the place that I know I always considered Morris Sound. But yeah, Paul O'Neill had bought that building from the Morris brothers, and it's now Night Castle Studios and the O'Neill family and TSO. That's our studio there. So that building is so awesome. And yeah, there was a lot, besides Sirens and Dungeons and the original Savatage stuff. We recorded Dr. Butcher there, Paul did Edge of Thorns there, and Zach did Circle to Circle. We did, that's where we did Night Castle and Letters from the Labyrinth were done down there. And there's a lot of, when we were doing the Dr. Butcher record, Chuck and Death, they were doing an album, and they actually took a week or like a few days off so we could run into the A room and mix. I remember Chuck was being really cool like that. He goes, if you guys need this A room, I'll just walk out of the studio for a few days, because he was using the A to record the Death record. We were using the B to record the Butcher record at the same time. And I think Jim recorded our stuff, but Tom, they always said, was the guy that they liked to do the mixing there more at that point in time. And this, we wanted to get us into the A room with Tom, and that's what had happened at that point. And it was really one of the coolest things ever was, seeing a guy willing to give his studio up for a few days so we could finish a record. And that was obviously with Chuck and Death being in the studio and me and John with Dr. Butcher at the same time gives you an idea exactly how much great heavy metal was coming out of that studio at the same time. It was a brilliant studio, and we're really happy to have access to that, to work in it. It's got two SSL rooms. One's kind of smaller and the other one's really big. You could fit like a small orchestra in the A room, and the B room where we did Dr. Butcher's just a really great tracking studio. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, that's where I went down to at the beginning of April. That's where we rehearsed for TSO and Savatage of Vakken. We were, the TSO West Band and the ones that were doing the set that followed Savatage were in the A room, and us Savatage guys, we were in the B room. We were all rehearsing, and then we went to an airplane hangar and set up on and emulated the two stages in there with the monitor systems that we brought over, because Paul brought over two full arena stages and two of those swinging clocks and a bunch of things. I mean, we brought over two arena stages to Europe for that. It was a pretty big production in that time. We played as TSO and Savatage, and then together at Vakken on both stages at the same time. That was a really massive undertaking.
That was killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was some video that came out of it like right after it, and I was really hoping it was going to get released in full, as streaming or either maybe as a DVD or Blu-ray or something. Yeah.
Well, I know all that whole entire show is filmed, so
Yeah.
maybe one day we'll get fortunate enough to see that whole entire thing have the light of day and be released as a video. I don't know. I'm not saying I know anything. I'm just saying that when you're asking what is filmed, I know that whole entire show, because Fox films everything and
Yeah.
Yeah,
broadcasts
everything.
live.
Yeah.
Everything's always live, so they have that stuff is recorded. I'm glad too, because that's something that Paul wanted to do again, and obviously never had a chance to do it. So I'm just glad that moment was captured on film, because it was so monumental what he had that vision of doing that day. It's never, I don't even know if it'll ever be done again. He was like, I want to do it at the pyramids in Egypt, and I want to do it at the Acropolis. He had all these visions of bringing that whole idea of multi-festival stages around to different places. And I know Paul would have gotten done. So like I said, I'm just happy that whatever was done that night definitely was captured on film.
Right.
Now, with Savatage being back, is there any talks of coming here to the United States with Savatage?
Well, I've answered that question before, and our idea is to keep playing. So, I haven't seen dates yet, but I just tell everybody that we want to keep playing. We started doing these shows, and everybody wants to play, and we plan on going anywhere we can. So.
Well, hopefully get here.
Any
Yeah.
plans on doing any more of these Spirits of Fire albums? These are great albums. I love these albums.
Yeah, so do I, but it became to the point where I was the only one that was doing any work, and it was kind of like Frontiers was like Chris Caffery, Spirits of Fire. I'm like, when you guys approached me about this, you asked me if I wanted to do a record with Ripper and using Roy Z, and I thought it would be really cool because Ripper's a great friend of mine, and I always admired Roy Z, but when Frontiers and Ripper stopped working together, and it just was, I loved working with Aldo and having Fabio singing on it, but it was so much pressure on me. And then they were just like, when they went to put it out, they were like, Chris Caffery's Spirits of Fire. It's like, it's not, and the rest of the guys in the band, I love them all, but I mean, I was the only one that was really pushing it on my social media and stuff like that. And it was like it wasn't fun. I mean, I stopped doing a lot of things with my solo record because a lot of the pressure went on to me. I just wanted to make some metal and get an opportunity, to kind of use Spirits of Fire, like maybe like Dr. Butcher, where I had a chance to have a metal band on the side for fun, because I never wanted to join any other bands. I was waiting for Savatage. So that was a fun way for me to do a record with somebody I knew like Ripper, and they're cool records. And had the situation been different, there probably would have been a third one done by now, but I'm not going to sit there and be the only one that's going to do the work. I was writing all the music, and the second record, I was like, somebody's got to write more of the lyrics and melodies, because I was doing like, I think 4 of the songs on the first record I wrote entirely, and Roy was finishing songs, and it wasn't even about that. It was more or less, like I said, when the record came out, I think that there was a lot of people just expecting me to be the one to do all the legwork getting it onto the internet, because I have a pretty active social media bunch of different things I do, but I didn't want that to be on me alone. And if people weren't happy with the way something happened and looking at me, it's like, hey man, I just did whatever I could. I mean, I didn't want to be that thing. And then it'd be fun to be able to do live shows, but everybody's so separated. You had Steve on the West Coast, me on the East Coast. The singer was, Fabio, if he wasn't in Italy, he was in Brazil, and Zonder, I can't even remember exactly where. I think he might have been in California too. So it's just like everybody was scattered all over the place, and I just wanted to, like I said, my main goal with things was to hope to one day that I was going to be able to be back with Savatage, and that's what had happened. And Savatage never broke up. So I always tried to clarify that with people. It's like we just stopped playing. It was never a situation where we stopped Savatage and for good or broke the band up. We just stopped playing, and now that we're back together in that form and we're doing the music, I'm just going day by day and looking forward to whatever we might be doing next. But I'm gonna go
having Steve Giorgio in the band. He's like one of my favorite bass players of
Dude,
all
he's so
time.
awesome, and he had, what I got. I hated the COVID year, but we got blessed in some ways with that because, when we did the second record, he was off the road and he took that record home and he did his bass on that album. It's just like he's a monster, man. I love the way he plays bass. He's just so awesome, and I got those tracks from him, and I had, all the tracks were being done through my studio, and I was like, wow, man, this is freaking awesome. He just really, he had a chance to stay home and really put some time into that, and I was excited about that. But I am actually going to get my dog. He wants to go back to bed. Yes. But it was great to come back to you guys.
Yeah,
man. Glad you made
once
back.
Again.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, my dog says good night.
Good night, doggy.
All right, good night, guys.
Thanks, man.
Oh my
All right,
God.
there you go. Part 2.
Yeah, that was a trip.
I'm right here. My puppet fell on the floor. I'm going to try to fix it.
Oh,
But I can hear everything.
It's
So
probably trying to kill you. It's probably trying to
Your
get to you. Nice chair, by the way. Everybody's talking about your nice new brown chair.
actually, it's old. I just love this crappy chair here. Crappy fucked up chair.
Yeah.
I only use this for videos. I do everything else on my crappy ass chair that squeaks like a motherfucker. But yeah, that one's kind of quiet. But that one's been in my other room for like, forever. I've had that chair for like 6 years.
Oh wow. No squeaks though. That's cool.
So what's happening? Is there a fight going on between the Dr. Fuck puppet and Terrifier? Art the Clown?
Actually, the puppet's in disarray. I'm trying to get it together. I'll show it in a second. Like the head is too. I got to get like some more safety pins and stuff. But yeah, the puppet will make a comeback. If you guys didn't see it, I used to have the puppet on my show, and all he did was insult me. And he loves Kiss Crazy Nights and anything Kiss does. I put Hot in the Shade versus Physical Graffiti, and he was like, "The Rover, yeah, that's a great name for that song because it sounds like dog shit." Yeah, check out. I fight with him constantly, and what I did was I went on Google and I typed in insults, and I found so many cool insults, and I just had the puppet insult him. Like one of the insults is like, "Hey, as a member of the human race, how did it feel to be an outsider?" Shit like that,
Too funny.
Another one, he says, "I'm not insulting you. I'm describing you."
And I'm glad you were able to get in there, Count Ralphus, because a lot of people were worried about you in the chat.
Yeah, I didn't get to say a word the whole time. He was.
Someone said, "Count." What they came in and
Blink
said,
twice.
Count Ralphus, blink twice if you need help.
It was very hard.
This is in the chat. This is in the chat. Someone said, "You finally got a word in. The count speaks." Yeah, good. Yeah.
I was gonna bring up how I seen Chris. Like I lived in the town right next to him growing up, and I seen Chris play in his very first band called Anti. They played at the local college, and it was one of the first underground shows I ever went to. I guess like him and his brother had put the show together with this other band, Militia, that played, and it was just like one of those early shows. We didn't even know the bands. We just like little metalheads. We wanted to go seen the flyer, so we went and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he has some stories to tell about that band. I've been on a couple different. I've been on Sea of Tranquility with him, and I've been on Rock Fantasy Files a bunch of times with him. And like I said, I ran into him like not even 2 months ago at the local Hannaford supermarket. I just said like, "What's up?" really quick, but I see him around town and stuff in the area. when he's not on tour and stuff.
What was the name of his first band? Anti?
Yeah, Auntie. I don't know if they ever recorded a demo or anything. I was going to ask
Is
about.
that ANTI?
Yeah, and at one point, Metallica had played before they even had their album out. They played a show at this place in Port Jervis, and Overkill opened up, and Auntie was the first band. So he got to play a show with Metallica before they even had an album out. So I'm
Wow.
sure he would have told that story. He's told it
Yeah.
before on like Rock Fantasy
Yeah.
Files.
Yeah. That's cool.
I was hoping you were able to get some more questions in there. He's a talker. A really cool guy.
Oh yeah, when he gets on Rock Fantasy Files, like sometimes you just bring up one thing and then he'll just go for like a half an hour straight and everybody just sits there. But he got so many amazing stories that we just let him talk.
Yeah.
All
No,
right,
he's definitely good
look
interview.
at what a mess my puppet is.
Holy shit, that scared me. Oh my god. Look at that thing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
How do you sleep in there at night?
No, I don't sleep in this room. And I got Terrifier over there.
I know.
Man, it's terrifying.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Do you ever get up in the middle of the night and just like, see the Terrifier standing there? Art the Clown? It scare you?
I don't plug them in because it makes too much noise, and the webcam can't pick it up for some reason. Because I had no doing it, and it honks the horn constantly. Drives me crazy.
Oh man!
They'll start doing it.
Wow.
So yeah, so this was a good show.
Yeah, man.
Power of the Night. Any more anniversaries this week?
I don't know. I'm at the anniversary.
This week, your favorite Kiss album, Unmasked.
No, that's my second favorite, right after Crazy Nights.
Yeah, but so Unmasked is 45 this week. Yeah. What else? But done any more anniversaries this week? I can't. Somebody was saying Spectre Within by Fate's Warning was 40 today, but Metal Archive says October or September or something, maybe October. I don't know. I trust Metal Archives more than Wikipedia.
Hey, I want to give a plug for anybody out there interested. The Saxon album is a really good album called Sacrifice. I bought it on Amazon for $12.
Wow.
And I bought the new Alice Cooper pre-order for $18 in his 2 vinyls.
Where?
On Amazon.
The new,
Really?
the
It was
newest.
just on there. It was like $40.
No. Click on vinyl, you'll see it. Or I'll send you a link.
Yeah, send us a link in the chat about that.
I bought that box set that comes with the extra.
Yeah, I some guy on
Oh
Facebook,
it dropped price. Wow, look at that.
18, right? 18.99.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $18.99 for 2 vinyls of the new Alice Cooper. I was like, oh,
That's like getting it for free. That's crazy.
And I was gonna get it on CD, and I was like, this shit's cheaper than CD. I'm gonna get this, And the same thing. Well, I don't know how much the Saxon is on CD, but man, that's a great album too. I was just cranking that Saxon album. That shit's awesome, man. So yeah, it was like $12.99 on Amazon.
7 Wishes by Night Ranger was 40 this week.
I think I saw you post that, and I have it on vinyl, and I've never ever listened to it. And I put it on, and I'll never ever listen to it again.
I love 4 in the morning, and yeah, it's got some cool stuff on it. It's not as good as the first 2.
That's what I was gonna say. The first 2 albums, man. I love the Night Ranger albums, but then after that, it became like Living Color shit. Hey, speaking of Living Color, hey, give us your review of the Living Color concert last week.
That's right. It was last week. Very good show. It was a very good show. Some opening band kind of sounded like Living Color. There were 3 black guys too. They were okay. They weren't as good as Living Color. But Living Color was actually really, really good. Corey Glover, awesome singer, very underrated. They sound just like they do on the albums. The only problem is you can tell how old they are now because Corey barely moved. Like he walked around most of the time. He looked like he was uninterested in being there, but he sang awesome, and the whole band played really well, and I thought they did a really good job. I just wish Corey moved around a little bit more. He looked a little stiff.
Did they play Cult of Personality?
Of course, they ended the show
4 times.
4 times. Yes. No, but they played a lot of good stuff. There was some things that I wish they would have played over other things. They had the drummer did a drum solo, which I thought was kind of weird because I don't want to hear a drum solo from him. And then the bass player, Doug Wimbish, he's a really awesome bass player. He had a bass solo. We didn't need to hear that either. They could have played like 4 other songs, but
Have you ever noticed that a lot of like the younger bands don't do solos, but
They don't.
it's all the old bands do
all
it.
the old bands.
When I love it when you go see like a really old band and they have like a drum solo, like third song in a set. It's like
I like, you know what?
you
I
gotta
like
go,
it. It's
go
okay.
backstage and get that second wind so the drummer can,
It's okay if they like work it in from a song, and then it drifts off into like a drum solo, then it comes back into the song or whatever. But when they stop their songs and when they finish like the last song, and then say, "Oh, so and so is going to do a drum solo here" or whatever, that I can't stand that. Don't do that because it's going to drag on and be too long.
Well, today somebody donated, and I put up a video today, and it's he wanted me to list 10 bands I hate.
Living Color was one.
And Living Color definitely made the list.
Why?
Rage Against the Machine was on there too.
Have you listened to anything that they've done besides Cult of Personality?
Middleman.
Okay. What about anything from the other album though?
Elvis is Dead.
You didn't like that?
Fashion Boys or whatever.
No,
Glamour Boys.
Glamour Boys.
Oh God, that shit sucks ass.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that song.
Hey, that Wayne is why they made my list.
Yeah. All right, whatever.
They suck dirty, shitty balls.
Hey, I didn't show you this last week, guys, but that's a piece of one of the Devo costumes.
Brenda saw Living Color, and she says the same thing. That Corey Glover seemed like he phoned it in. So Brenda likes Living Color.
I think you showed that last week.
Did it? I did. I couldn't remember if I did or not.
What is it? What did you show? Because I was too busy. Oh, the Devo.
Maybe I didn't show it to Wayne. I got the Devo part of Devo costume. Yellow. Because they come out in the yellow suits and they tear them off and throw them in the ice. Yeah.
I want to see Devo, man. Way more than Living Color.
I
bet you if I went to that Living Color show, I would have been like, man, the best part of the show is the drum solo and bass solo. We weren't doing songs.
It was so weird. Like he would play his drum solo, then he got up from his kit, and then he went over to the side and played this weird thing that made like guitar sounds. I'm like, why are you making guitar sounds? You have a guitar player, and you're trying to do it. It was just so weird.
Oh, he wanted it to sound like a normal guitar player.
No, he's an awesome guitar player.
He
really
sucks.
Really good. He does not suck.
He sucks dirty, shitty balls.
I'm going to tell him that too. I'm going to email him right now.
He'll call me racist.
Saw a pretty good show the other night. I saw a band called Tribulation from Sweden, and they were really cool, kind of gothy, doomy, death metal-y kind of cool band. And Early Moods open for them. And Early Moods are just such a kick-ass doom band. If you haven't checked out Early Moods, check them out. If you like Trouble, you'll love Early Moods.
Awesome. Something crazy the other day. I'm driving home and I remember in my head, man, I got some Metal Shop CDs I haven't listened to in like 30 years, right? So I come home and I find 2 of them. And actually the 2 I found says Metal Shop Volume 2 and the other cassette said Metal Shop Volume 2. I was like, what the fuck was wrong with me? Anyway, so I'm playing it. I'm playing the cassettes, and there's 2 commercials for concerts. One, King Diamond and Trouble, the Abigail tour. I was like, holy shit, I got to rip this and put it online. And the other one was Anthrax, Exodus, and Celtic Frost. And they're like, Anthrax, Exodus, and Celtic Frost from Germany.
I went to both of them tours.
Yeah,
But I didn't see Trouble. Trouble didn't open up. Anvil Bitch opened up for King Diamond at the Abigail tour at L'Amour's.
Anvil Bitch was around back then.
Yep, that their album had just come out, and I remember knowing that they were going to be on the bill, so I got the album before the show so I can listen to them. Still got the old vinyl.
Really?
Right. So yeah, that was, and man, so many bands on these Metal Shop cassettes. God, I put them back, and I should bring them out. Like I'm sure Tony Dio knows some of these bands. I was like, fuck, this shit is so good. You know, all these fucking weird bands I never heard of before. And King Cobra, this really good song from King Cobra off their third album that I put on that third album because I have King Cobra 3. That's an amazing album, man.
That was a good album, man. It was just they went back to more harder rock stuff on there because they'd gone so commercial on. They tried to become Survivor on that second album. Yeah, that third one was pretty good. There was a couple of those songs from the third album that were in Black Roses. Take It Off, and of course you got 2 Gene Simmons songs on there. You got Legends Never Die and It's My Life.
Let me go grab the cassettes because I'm going to throw out these band names. They were good, man.
By the way,
Yeah.
there must be some kind of vinyl sale going on Amazon because Scream Bloody Gore is on sale for $13.62.
How much?
$13.62.
Wow. Cool.
Been reissued like 100 times. That album,
Yeah,
they keep
yeah.
reissuing.
Hey Wayne, we were talking about on Rock Fantasy Files. We were talking about stuff we'd been listening to, and I was saying I had listened to the new Dirk Snyder record where he goes and re-recorded "Balls to the Walls" with various singers. Have you heard that yet, Wayne?
I heard some snippets of the song.
Michael Kiske does "Losing More Than You Ever Had." Pretty
really? I
freaking
didn't
cool,
hear that one.
man.
Is it
Yeah.
good? See, a lot of
Yeah.
people were listening to that, heard those songs, except for that one, and they said it was sounding like garbage. I thought it sounded okay. I didn't think it sounded bad at all.
The music's spot on. The band
Yeah,
played
it's
everything
nice.
spot on. But it's kind of like what Count Ralph said last night. If you're going to go and do a re-recording, do something like that where you've got guest singers coming in and doing it instead of just re-recording the songs.
Right. Yeah.
It makes it more interesting.
I really got to
more
check it out.
legit.
Then. I have to check it out.
On the cassettes, you ever heard of a band called Sacred Child?
Yes.
They're good, man.
It's a female singer.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of trivia. I used to have that album. They were on that same label that like Laz Rocket and all was on, like Target Records or whatever. But the lead singer is Neil Young's sister, his baby sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about DC LaCroix?
Another female fronted band. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good fucking band. See here. Lion. Well, Lion is the guy Mark Edwards on drums. And Doug
Aldrich. Yep. Kyle Swan. Yep.
Band called Dead End.
They were Japanese. They were on Metal Blade, I remember. Yeah.
Pandemonium.
Yep. Metal Blade band from Alaska.
Eric Steele.
Yep. Got a couple of records by them. Nobody in the band named Eric Steele. That's just the name of the band. Yeah. Eric's not in the band. He left. But yeah, they're pretty kick-ass band. Yeah, he started it and they kept his name.
Let's see. Leatherwolf.
Yep.
Chastain. There's the King Cobra. Massey. That was a guitar player. Massey.
Yeah, Alex Massey. Yep.
And
did you ever have the Hawk record, the Doug Marks Hawk record? Remember the guy who used to do the Metal Method guitars? Yeah. He had an album, a Hawk album, and the guy that sang on one of the Massey albums. The guy that sounded kind of like Dio.
How about Ivory Tower?
Yep, I have an album by them.
Which one though? There's 2 of them. There's 2 different bands.
The one I've got, it's got like a picture of the group on the front, and they're all dressed like Captain Crunch or something.
That's the one I got.
Yeah. I just remember they're all big hair and they're wearing like Captain Crunch clothes and stuff, you know.
I believe I have that one. I'm looking for it.
Captain Crunch.
That's why Blue Murder never made it, because someone said, "Hey, you should dress like Captain Crunch," and they did, and
Should never did that.
Yep. The pirate look did not work for them.
But it worked for Running
There's only
Wild.
one real pirate metal band, and that's Running Wild.
Yeah.
All these others are just copycats.
Yeah.
I was listening to Gates of Purgatory the other day. What
that rules.
Killer no filler album.
Yeah, man. They were considered black metal back then because they had the evil lyrics.
I found it.
That's it. Look at them, Captain Crunch Coats.
Everybody out there, check out the song "Are You Ready to Roll" by Ivory Tower.
It's pretty not a bad record.
Ready to roll.
It just goes with bad album cover art,
Yeah. But it looks sexier in the back.
Yeah.
Oh wow, look at that. That's high, especially that guy laying down like that.
Because of Metal Shop, I bought this vinyl because I love that song.
Look, Jeff Scott Soto's brother's on the end there. Bob Scott Soto.
Hopefully I can find my Metal Shop Volume 1. I'll keep looking. But hey, got anything else to talk about, everybody, before we sign off?
I've kind of ignored them. Let's see here. No. Pleasure Den of the Absurd has to go. Okay, see you later. Deadeye says, I hate Dave Matthews. Me too. Brian Sanchez, I was leaving at the movie theater. I just got out to see Final Destination Bloodlines. I don't want to say what happens. Geez, can you write English? I won't spoil it if you go. Forget it. Just don't go see the movie.
Did you guys see the billboard? Did you see the billboard ad?
Yeah, the guy hanging
for Final Destination. It's like the two men, and one of them's like looks like he's got his head's busted up and he fell. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's like hanging upside down, like
hanging up.
Supposedly it's pretty
awesome.
good. So.
I guarantee you, somebody rode by there and called 911. There's somebody that was that stupid.
Here's an interesting one. What bands does Count hate? What bands do you hate, Count?
All hair metal.
Yeah, I hate all rap music and most country music I hate, and I don't like a lot of the glam bands that you guys like. When Ralph just held up that album, if I seen that album, I wouldn't buy it just from the way it looks. It could be the greatest music on there. If I see it like that, just no way.
No.
But yeah, I hate it.
Believe it or not, Ralph, is that song I told you, Ready to Roll? It sounds like Motorhead.
Yeah, if I don't see it, that's one thing. But if I see it and then I just can't get into it. It's like it's a weird thing with me. But yeah, ton of those like anything like after 84, basically with the glam metal. I liked Motley Crue and Rat and stuff when I was a kid. But once I found like Metallica and Slayer and stuff like that, it just ruined it for all those bands for me. And I probably Theater of Pain might have been like the last glam album that I ever bought.
Yeah, we talked about that last night. Yeah, you said it was probably your last one you purchased.
I'm just like you, Ralphus. I love the early stuff. The only exception of later glam stuff I liked was the first Cinderella album. I didn't like anything after that. Because that first Cinderella album, of course, you'll stay away from it because of the album cover. But I think that's a great hard rocking album if it had a different cover and a different band name. Cinderella's a hard.
Yeah. The name a lot of times too. That kills
it's false advertising because it's really not what it's more AC/DC, Nazareth, Aerosmith than it is, Poison heavy, or something like that.
Really heavy.
Yep.
Then they went all bluesy and they lost me. The same thing with Great White. I love that first Great White album. Then they went all bluesy. I hate it.
I like a lot of their blues stuff, but that metal stuff's the best.
And Ralphus hates Stryper.
Yeah, hate Stryper.
Because Ralphus was gonna go see the Pink Floyd movie. And he goes, hey, since I'm not going to be around, review some crap like Stryper. And I was like, hey, I like that. Let's do that. We were going to do it, but then something happened and we changed it, right?
You never told us, Count. How did you enjoy the movie?
Oh, it was fucking incredible. I took some mushrooms and we walked in right as the heartbeat, like beating in the beginning of that movie. And I've seen it so many times. I've owned it on DVD for years and years, but to see it on the IMAX screen like that, it's like a whole different experience, and just completely blown away about how good it was. It made me reappreciate like just the whole way that that film was edited and the director, the camera work in that movie. It's just amazing. Really, really great.
Yeah, but you know what? If Pink Floyd looked like Striper, you wouldn't have liked it.
Well, when I was in high school, there was like a gang that they used to go around and bully everybody, and they wore yellow and black. That was their colors, you know. So when I seen Striper, I was like, it just gave me bad nightmares of that my early days as a kid, you know.
Weren't they in the Warriors movie?
Yep.
The yellow and black attack.
They held big crosses instead of baseball bats.
The bees.
You would just see coming around the corner.
I actually bought the new Pink Floyd at Bombay on Blu-ray. It's a movie, but then it also, the extra features is just the concert where, everything's outdoors. Where in the movie, there's some studio footage and then footage of, the ruins and stuff.
Yeah.
I love, that echoes, that song echoes. It puts me in a fucking trance. Metal, I mean, that album, Metal, man. I put that album Metal on and it's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, I love Metal. That's a great record.
One of these days, the first death metal vocals, I would say. One of these days.
You ever listen to the album More, the soundtrack album More?
I've never listened to that one.
I don't have the soundtrack.
There's a song on there. You talk about death metal, like there's a song on there that he's like screaming and yelling and stuff, and it's like it's a weird album because it's meant for being like clips in a movie, so they're not like really full like songs, and they're kind of just small bits. But there's I forget the exact name of the song, but he's like screaming and yelling, and I think, man, this is like so early on. No one was doing anything like this, but they definitely have like weird metal elements to them.
Yeah, the Nile song off of War, that's a heavy song.
Yeah.
No way around it. That is a heavy damn song.
The Necros did a cover of that.
Did they? You know who also did a cover of that? Voivod.
I know they did Astronomy. Yeah, Domain. So.
Yeah, Astronomy Domain.
Yeah. So the More, is that a movie? Is that a Pink Floyd movie, or is it just
no? It was a movie that they did a soundtrack for. They did a couple of soundtracks for movies where it's like kind of a weird thing. They're, instead of making a new album, they're getting paid to come up with music for soundtracks. So they did that for a little bit. It was only for like a couple of years they did that. But you could buy it.
Yeah, I've seen that record.
I found it on Vine.
Yeah, I've seen it for years, and I was like, I didn't know if it was a movie that went with it or what the deal was with that. Yep.
Yeah, I never seen the actual movie. I seen clips of it. I think you could actually find it now on like Tubi or something like that, but it looks like a weird movie.
Right on,
speaking of movies and Alice Cooper, we were talking about Alice Cooper record a while ago. Have you ever seen the movie Diary of a Mad Housewife? And Alice Cooper's the original band is in the movie. They're like playing at a party.
No,
it's a whole segment with them in it.
Where? What movie?
I didn't even know that.
Diary of a Mad Housewife.
Diary of a Mad Housewife.
I own Monster Dog.
Why does that sound familiar? They were in that.
Yeah, I have Monster Dog as well. I know Alice said in an interview that that's not even his voice in the movie, but it is. That's his voice. I think.
Prince of Darkness too, the John Carpenter movie. He's also in that.
They were in that other movie too.
I didn't like that movie. I went to that movie excited. Alice Cooper impales a guy with a bike, and I like that part. But
that's the best part.
It's not very memorable. That movie.
Yeah. It sucked. That movie reminded me of Living Color.
So it had that one, the part where he throws the bike through the guy's the cult of personality.
Yeah, they should have done that on stage. They should have impaled the guitar player with a bicycle. Fucking awesome.
Have you been investigated? Count what's going on there with the lights? Is there a cop in your window?
My dog's going crazy because he probably hears a bear outside. That light is shining back.
Why does your dog have a light?
Yeah, the dog's got a light and he's looking for a bear.
The light out.
Here, come here.
So it's cold. It's cold up at your place as well, Count.
Oh man, this sucks, man. It's like my heat came on too. I'm like not far from where Chris was, so my heat came on today too. It's been last couple of nights have been freaking freezing again. It's like the winter is trying to last forever up here, you know. But
Yeah,
then
it's about
the way it is in New York, it'll be like this, and all of a sudden it'll be 90 degrees. That's how it happens every year. We go from like a 40-degree difference in one day, and then that's it. Then it's brutally hot for the rest of the. Then you're complaining about the heat, you know.
It's really cold down here too.
Oh, yeah, what is it? 81?
Mine is it's very cold here, but I gotta go adjust AC. I put it too cold.
yeah.
It's been brutally hot. Now, you know,
It's 68 here.
the city of Miami Beach made us put trees in. And every day, dude, two times a day, I gotta get a hose, turn on the hose, and leave it there for 15 minutes. I have 4 trees. It takes me an hour to do it all. And while I'm doing that shit, the heat is so unbearable down here. And it's like, oh fuck.
Are they fake trees to go along with your fake grass?
No.
No.
I wouldn't have to water them, genius.
Well, you might have to just pretend that you're watering.
Switch them out with some fake rubber ones. Put them out.
I water my
Rubber tree.
I water my trees with an imaginary hose. It's an imaginary hose with imaginary water.
Just have like some like streamers coming out of the hose or something, make it look like water. Come on.
You know,
like a light.
Yeah, like Count's dog come in there with a light.
You know what? Now that I have fake grass all over my house, I can't take a piss outside.
Yeah, because
I love peeing outside. I go pee in the back on the fence. I always pick a different spot so it won't smell up the place, you know?
Yeah, you have to. You can't do it at the same spot.
It'll smell like urine. But you pee in one spot and go in another spot because here in Hialeah, it rains daily, you know? But it hasn't rained in the last week, and I've been watering these goddamn trees. Today it rained finally.
Good. I'm glad.
Yay!
It rained here too.
So, any last words from the peanut gallery, Wayne?
No. Let's see. Oh my God.
Wayne, Mitch Wooten wants to know your superstars of wrestling figure. Who's your favorite?
I answered in chat. Cactus Jack. Anything Mick Foley did, like Cactus Jack and Mankind, stuff like that. But,
Wendy Richter.
Wendy Richter, yeah. And also Sabu, who actually passed away. I think it was the last week.
Yeah, that was what did he pass from? Heart attack?
Probably. I don't think it's really came out yet.
I heard he passed away because he went to a Living Color concert.
I knew you were going to say it. So predictable.
He got impaled by a bike at a Living Color concert.
Yeah.
Randy Joy said, "Let's see Count's dog."
No more seeing dogs in the show. Where is the dog? Can we see the dog?
He's got a flashlight.
I couldn't believe. I wonder if he just like was ignoring me, or he really just did not hear me. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, he didn't hear you. He was out. He kept yapping away.
He could have did his own interview.
I should have asked him if he was related to the guy from the Beaver Brown Band.
What's
That's
that?
right?
Oh.
Caffery.
Close enough.
Well, Mike Proctor asked me to ask him that, but I didn't.
Well, there you go, everybody. This was an exciting, most exciting, Almost Human episode. And I want to thank Wayne, Tony, Ralphus, and Wayne again. I'm going to thank Wayne twice.
That's
because
what you should
Wayne
do every
deserves,
week.
God damn it. Wayne deserves all the love in the world. He sacrificed himself to go see Living Color. Show the man some respect.
That's right.
He's the
respect.
He's the cult of mental retardity. Anyway, there you go, everybody. Next week we'll be back And
They were the Wayans brothers are the Wayans brothers in Living Color, or they were on In Living
No,
Color?
just because they're black doesn't mean it's.
No,
Please tell me.
they were on In Living Color, the TV
Yes,
show.
a totally different thing. Spelled different too.
so next week we'll be back. If Count Ralphus can't join us, Striper.
No, we're not doing Striper.
Hell yeah.
Woo.
We should do like Striper and
Striper versus Venom.
yeah.
Do you like your
should do a
favorite?
We should do a versus show because we haven't done any of them in
What?
a while. We should do a versus show because we haven't done one in a while.
We've never done one on this, have we?
Yeah, we did the Led Zeppelin thing, didn't we? Do Led Zeppelin, or we were just going through albums. I don't think maybe we didn't do versus. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, next week, Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath versus Living Color Vivid.
It's gonna be a close one. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah. It's gonna be really close.
oh my God, we yuck it up here. It's nothing but ha-has on the Almost Human Life. So everybody, thank you so much. We are signing off till next week.